And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at the game Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? It has Jeff Foxworthy on the cover. This is obviously based on the very popular game show Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Now, I have not ever understood the appeal of that show because the answer to this question is yes, I'm smarter than a fifth grader. I have had many fifth graders that I've worked with. I have had many in my own household, and I have found that I am not only smarter than them, but I am measurably smarter than them. That's not the point of the game. The point of the game is to get people to say, I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. Ha ha ha. This is essentially a board game that kind of follows the game show itself, but it's essentially just a trivia game in a box. Let me show you. In this game, players are trying to get $1 million because why not? On your turn, you're going to be answering questions, and every time you get one correctly, you'll move up here. You'll move across here till you get to the $1 million question. If you ever get one incorrect, you're out of the game, but you can still move up because it is possible that no one will make $1 million, in which case whoever's gotten the highest will win. You can play in teams too. So when it's your turn, you're going to pick what grade you want to do. So let's say you want to do second grade. Great. So you're going to cover up second grade with a tile that matches the same color. You're going to draw the top card from the second grade deck, and you're going to stick it in your Captain Crunch decoder. And so you put it in here from the bottom up, and it's a geography question, and the question is, true or false? Kansas is west of the Mississippi River. Ooh, that's a tough one. So everybody writes down their answer on a piece of paper not provided in the game. So everyone writes their answers down. You are going to say the answer and see if you get it correct. Or, since each person has a peek or a copy token, you can peek at someone else's answers, or you can look at everyone's answers and copy one of those. If you do that, though, and you use their answer and they're correct, you're going to give them $1,000, which can add to their total at the end of the game. So let's say we say true, then we go down and look at the answer, and the answer is true. And then the next person does a second grade question, the next person does a second grade question, etc. Remember, if you get it right, you move up here. If you get it incorrect, you are out of the game, although each player has a save token that they can play once per game to keep them from being in the game. Once everyone's done with a second grade question, then the next person picks a question. So they say, let's do fifth grade. And you keep doing this. Once these are covered up, you can't do them anymore, so those questions from those grades will never be asked again. And when they're all covered up, that's pretty much the end of the game. Except if anyone's made it to the $1 million questions, they will then get one of these $1 million questions. So you'll slide that in. And I'm not showing you the questions in case you buy the game. I don't want to spoil them for you. Each of the questions is double-sided, and like I said, they show what category. There's art and social studies and science and geography and math and U.S. history and earth history. The $1 million question can be pretty much anything. That's how you play. I gotta say, this is kind of a lackluster production. I mean, the cards themselves are pretty poor quality, and there's gotta be a better way than this whole put them through that little slider, that red and blue. That's ancient 80s nonsense, and why can't we just have a card and you read the card and then we flip it over in the back or something? I don't know. That stuff is hard to read, especially for adults who I'm sure this game is aimed at. I played it with kids. The kids weren't very thrilled with it. Adults weren't very thrilled with it. It was one of those games where everyone sits there and goes, that is not a first grader question. Yes, technically, probably it's in some first grade textbook somewhere that no one teaches because most first graders are still learning how to read. I couldn't really tell any difference between the levels of first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, and I know the whole game's about ha ha ha, but this is a board game. It is not just a game show, it's a board game. So therefore, there needs to be a way to win in it, and if you get a question wrong, you've technically lost, even if it's the first turn of the game. That's not very fun. You're just sitting there hoping that someone else gets them wrong and someone who's smarter than you will do better. It's okay, the little chips, the things you can do, but just the production values, this box size is outdated. It's just, the whole thing kind of screams like, hey, this was done in the 80s or 90s. And we're past that point with game design now. I don't mind them taking this game show and making a game out of it, even following the game show, but they should have maybe made tweaks and stuff to make it a better, more accessible game. As it is right now, not very impressed. Dice Tower Judgment, I'm smarter than this game.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!